All right, so before we just started, recording, you you were saying you're feeling a little bit stiff. Why is that?
I am stiff, Pat. I just had some big Tennessee boys sitting on my chest lately in jiu-jitsu class, and it is, taking its toll on my frail Canadian body. So,
Is
but
there
no,
any
I'm feeling good. Just
in
stiff.
jiu-jitsu? I don't know if in competitions or in when you just go to class and you're rolling around and learning stuff. Does who you go against, is it solely based upon ability level, or does weight class play a factor too?
Well, two different scenarios. So when you're training, you'll probably get a good look at a lot of different people in the room. And so in any given class, you're going to have a range of participants, kind of like a CrossFit class, right? You show up and there's going to be some people that are top of the heap. They've been there 7, 8 years and they're just crushing it. And you're going to have people that are relatively new. And at the end of the day, if you have a good gym culture, in my opinion, you should have people pairing up with each other of all skill levels. And it can be really beneficial. Our school runs that way, and it's pretty fun. And now, when you sign up for a tournament, it's always going to be filtered through experience based on rank, right? So your belt, and then age group and weight class. So
Okay.
it'll filter down to people that are kind of like ability and body size.
What are you weighing in at these days, and how heavy is one of the heavier guys that you'll tangle with in class?
Oh boy, I am coming in at a cool 160 these days most of the time, and most of the guys that there's a couple guys around my size. I shouldn't be too dramatic about it, but there's a couple of big fellas that are well north of 200, 230, 240, and it can get a
You're
little
gonna
spicy.
notice it.
Oh yeah. You try to not end up on the bottom against fellas like that.
Oh, that's cool. And given your current physical state and whatnot, is there fitness that needs to happen today, or are you done?
No, today's done. I actually did a little lunchtime jiu-jitsu earlier and had my fill. I did some weightlifting yesterday and did something longer on Monday, but it's not coming top of mind. So between those 3 days, I'm feeling like that's enough, and I'll probably take tomorrow and just stretch and chill out.
Nice. I've got yesterday I had to modify incredibly with strict JT.
Ooh.
And then today is interval training. 10 intervals on the rower, 250 meters a pop.
Nice.
Resting, amply several minutes between each so that you can really dance with the devil each time. So that's looming in my future after we finish recording. So that's going to be a real treat.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a good question today, everybody. But before we get to that, I'll do what I'm supposed to do all the time, which is appreciate all of you. Want to help support the show? Go to variednotrandom.com. Check out the cycles that we offer. And I can't remember the last time I did this, but I wrote down what they are in case you're like, what are these cycles that you talk of? Here's what we have for you. On-ramp programs for barbell, dumbbell, and body weight. There's a 1.5 mile run program. And there's a whole bunch of ones catered towards getting you your first fill in the blank. And the ones that are the firsts are first strict pull-up, kipping pull-up, kipping bar muscle up, strict ring muscle up, first push up, first strict ring dip, strict handstand push up, and toes to bar. And then we've just got some good old, then there's get your first 5 feet of handstand walk, and then some barbell stuff. Clean, jerk, snatch, back squat, deadlift, shoulder press, bench press. So there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So check those out. And then on the gym management side, if you own a gym or any kind of fitness facility, you got to take care of tracking your members' fitness, gym management, and then billing, and btwb has an all-in-one solution for that. So go to btwb.com and check it out. All right, so with that being said, here is the question. I liked this one.
I am a fan also. We talked earlier today and we were saying, okay, what are we going to do on the show? And you had a couple prepared and we didn't get past this one. So
that made me
I think
happy
it's going to be fun.
I liked this one and you're like, oh, that speaks to me. So this is from Trent D. And he says, trying to switch from traditional strength and hypertrophy to something that resembles CrossFit. My hang-up is trying to make everything a partner workout since I work out with my wife and we're trying to fit everything into 30 minutes-ish. We have one barbell, some plates, one squat rack, and then one set of adjustable dumbbells. A good podcast topic might be how to turn any workout into a partner workout, specifically with somebody who's at a different strength level. And what are your thoughts on taking either dumbbell only workouts and making them into barbell workouts or vice versa? And also, CrossFit generally seems like it's known for choosing the weight for a workout, so setting the load. Is there any kind of baseline conversion if we're looking to make barbells and dumbbells work? So,
A
cool.
lot of meat on the bone there,
Yeah,
for
man,
sure.
good stuff. So, I've got a bunch of thoughts, but I don't know if you've got anything just right off the bat, or I can kick it off, whatever you like.
Yeah, right off the bat, I think it's great. And, I think there's the old trope about don't work out with your significant other, don't coach your significant other. And sure, sometimes it can be a little bit frictive, shall we say, to do that sort of thing. But on the other hand, I think it can also be a whole lot of fun. I know that throughout the years, my wife and I have gone through periods of time where we work out together all the time, and then periods of time where schedules just don't match up, and you can't. And we're kind of back in this phase now where we're working out together more often than not. And I gotta say, at this phase in my life, it is a real treat. And it's fun. And neither of us is in a place right now where we're so concerned about the outcome of any given session that it does kind of, I don't know, it's just a nice little bit of quality time that we get to spend together. And so hopefully this is going to be the same for, these two that are writing in. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this as a topic. And just, as a strong relationship, I think it can be a really cool thing to do with your significant other. So should be good.
Stand by for marital bliss. So
That's right, yeah. You heard it here first.
I would also say, and Trent, I believe that was the name. I closed my phone already. I don't know what your budget is or whatnot, but if I could add to your wish list, if possible, Trent, you didn't mention that you have a pull-up bar. If you could get a pull-up bar and bolt it to the wall, I think you would be set for life. If you then had maybe one other thing you could save up for, more barbells and plates, that'd be great, but that takes up room. But if you got just a second set of adjustable dumbbells, I think that would also be good for your minimal space and getting, you wouldn't have to do as much potential conversion to make things happen, but we got you covered. We're gonna let you know how to make all this happen with the gear that you have and the time that you have. So it's gonna be good to go.
Well, I wanted to start a little bit with the low-hanging fruit. So at the end of the question, he was asking, is there kind of a commonly accepted conversion between barbells and dumbbells and that sort of thing? And the answer is no, not necessarily. But typically speaking, you're going to take a little bit off of the top, so to speak. So let's just make the example easy. If the barbell weighs 100 pounds, you're probably not going to choose two dumbbells that total 100 pounds because the dumbbells are harder to control. They're a little bit more challenging in almost every manner than the barbell that's fixed and you can control it with both hands at the same time. So it's generally wise to take a little bit off the top. Now, what that number is, people can argue it back and forth. I don't really care. The point is that you want to take just a little bit of that fire out. Now, between men and women, as a second kind of conversion there, if you have, let's say, a weight that you're throwing out there for a man to do, and then you want to say, okay, what's the step down for the female weight? There's usually an accepted between 60 to 70% depending on the movement. And so, for example, a movement like a snatch might be a little bit on the lower end, whereas a movement like, a deadlift might be a little bit on the higher end. And you can experiment with that. But typically speaking, that's where you're going to see it fall, about 60 to 70%.
Yep, I like that. And truth be told, a lot of times there's some wiggle room north or south going from barbells to dumbbells or dumbbells to barbells because it's not exactly, like you said, it's not precisely the same. It is a different implement. And so if you have something like a classic Fran 2159 with a 95-pound thruster and you look in your garage and you've got a pair of 50-pound dumbbells, you could do the 2159. You just have a little bit extra spice on there, and maybe it'd slow you down a little bit. Maybe you got to set the dumbbells down once or twice more than you maybe would if you had the barbell in your hand. So is it exactly the same? No, it's close enough for government work. You're going to get ferociously fit, fast, and strong. You're going to be good to go. But and it can serve as there's a simple mathematical thing you can do, but then some experience under your belt will help you navigate whether that simple mathematical formula led you astray or gut feeling for this workout, it's pretty darn close. So for example, if you've got something that is, like I tend to feel like a pair of thrusters with dumbbells feels quite different than thrusters with a barbell. But if I have to do, let's say I'm doing a lighter workout that has, like there's an old workout that's like 10 rounds for time of 15 deadlifts at 135 and 15 push-ups, like a really 10 rounds of like an old workout. So it's high volume, lighter weight deadlift. I can grab a set of dumbbells that's really close to that load, touch one head to the ground. Yeah, the range of motion might be a bit more, but I can do that almost a 1-for-1 sort of a deal. Other things feel a bit different. So if you could take the barbell loading, multiply by how many reps you're doing, get that number, then divide it by the total weight of your dumbbells and get what, just pure mathematically speaking, would be the exact number of reps to do with those dumbbells. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So there's a bit of that. There's a bit of trial and error. And so I think you and your wife should allow yourselves to experiment with that trial and error, because you said different strength levels of different athletes. And so there's going to be a bit of a wide strike zone, but you'll get it after a few weeks and you'll be totally good to go.
Yeah. And another wrinkle to add on top of that is, are we talking about a barbell workout where you're choosing to use 2 dumbbells or 1? And so, for example, if you have that 100-pound example that I had before, and you say, okay, I'm just going to split it right in half, that's 50 pounds, so therefore I should have 50 pounds in each hand. Okay, maybe that's close enough. Maybe you take a little edge off. That's fine. But let's say you only have 1 dumbbell. Maybe that 70-pounder in one hand and you can switch as needed. Maybe that is appropriate, even though both hands holding onto that 70 pounds would be way overshooting. So that's another consideration to think about as well. Am I going to use 1 dumbbell or 2 to try to mimic this barbell movement? And I'll put a little plug out there too. Like CrossFit does have a really cool dumbbell course. Check it out. It's on their the website there. I did have a hand in writing that, so I will kind of plug that one a little. It's been some years now, but it is a pretty cool course, and it covers a ton of stuff like that, how to convert, what to think about. So that might be a nice follow-up too for those that are interested.
100%. And so I would also say, you're looking to make partner workouts happen, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do partner workouts, but the ones that leapt into my mind is there's just some classic ones. Okay, not just partner workouts, but you've got 1 barbell and 1 and a pair of adjustable dumbbells. So the first maybe style that you could do is you have one person that has the barbell loaded up appropriately, one person that has the dumbbells loaded up appropriately. You're both doing the same workout, like maybe it's DT, for example. And you might have to do different reps per round because one maybe has the barbell exactly loaded up to 155. Let's say it's the gentleman, and the wife has her dumbbells loaded up to maybe, I forget that they're adjustable, but maybe she's got them set at 35 pounds. And for her, she's going to increase the reps just a little bit to get kind of the DT stimulus. So different rep range, different implements, but you're both doing DT at the same time. Dumbbell deads, barbell deads, hang power cleans with each one, and then shoulder overhead with each one. So you're going at the same time, each is going at their own pace, each is breaking it up when they need to, but you're working out together. That could be one style of workout that we'll chat about. Another style could be let me oh, sure.
Sorry to interject right there too. I love that. And I think that what you could do to add some structure to that too is maybe you make the agreement where you flip every week or every couple of sessions. So let's say Pat and I are, just meeting up and he's got the barbell, I got the dumbbells. Maybe week 1, it's Pat's barbell week. And then week 2, it's his dumbbell week. And we flip-flop week after week. So there's kind of some expectation. And it's not this question when we get into the gym every day, okay, who's using what? It's like, well, we already established that. And it's just my week for the barbell. Keep it simple.
Yes. And so I'll give you an example because every day at Linchpin, there's a barbell and there's a dumbbell option every single solitary day. So I've been turning barbell workouts into dumbbell workouts every day for years. And so if we stick with the DT example, what I've found learns well if you got 12 deads, 9 hang power cleans, 6 push jerks, regularly speaking, 155 for men, 105 for women. Now, if I'm programming dumbbell DT, the difference between what Trent said is they've got adjustable dumbbells, which is really great. I make the broad assumption that, when the Open first came around with dumbbells, most people purchased a pair of 50s for men, a pair of 35s. Like that seems to be the most ubiquitous pair. If you've got more options, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. But I'm always going to make the assumption that this is the one pair that you've got. And so modified for those reps, we usually do each round of DT with those dumbbells that I just said, I assume is 18 dumbbell deadlifts for men, 12 dumbbell hang power cleans, and 10 shoulder to overhead. And so a little bit different rep range. And so one person could have those dumbbells there, one person has the barbell, 3, 2, 1, go. They're both doing their version of DT. The reps are a little bit different, but they're both doing DT, and you could play this game with whatever the workout happened to be. So that's workout like style number 1, we could say. Style number 2 could just be a you go, I go, which we can chat about in a second. Step 3 could be a synchronized kind of a version, which is a you go, I go, like we're staying together at the bottom or at the top. And then the 4th one we could chat about, which popped into my head, is like a chipper style, where there's big chunks of work. We've got to do 100 deadlifts as a husband and wife pair. I'm going to do 17, then I get tired, then you knock out 15, then we go back and forth until all the deads are done. Then we move on to the hang power cleans. So there's a handful of different ways that you can
I've got one more to add to that list.
Sir, yeah.
Love that list, and that matched mine exactly. The only one that I would add that I think is often overlooked in this scenario is the flip-flop between the coach and athlete role. I think there's a ton of utility, especially if you can establish more of the short workouts, the ones that are going to be a little punchier, those 10-minute or less all-out efforts. And you come in, you're like, all right, I'm going to warm up and go while Pat is going to keep me honest. He's going to count my reps. He's going to make sure my technique's looking good. And when he's done, we're going to flip-flop. And not only are you going to get a great workout that way, but you'd be surprised at how much you can really refine your own movement when you have to articulate it to somebody else. And I think there's a ton of utility there too. So you can both get better. You both get the benefit of that external set of eyes. It doesn't have to be every session, but sometimes I think it's worth identifying, hey, this is a quick, short and sharp workout. I'm going to coach first and then I'm going to go. We both get the benefit of each.
Man, you are looking to strengthen the marriage.
I know, right? This is the theme of the day here.
No, I like that. That's I wrote that one down. So that's a great one as well. So, we started to chat about that first one, which is the 2 separate workouts with maybe some different rep ranges and whatnot. We chatted a second ago about general math, things of that nature, 60 to 70%, like you said, and all that. I think you're absolutely right on that. And I'm trying to think if I have anything else more on that before going a different route. I don't think so. General math, you've got adjustable dumbbells, and depending upon the athlete's ability level, like let me make some broad assumptions right now. Maybe the gentleman in this case, let's say that he's been doing CrossFit forever and then the wife's just getting back into it. And so maybe her strength isn't, she's still building on it. You might not have to modify the rep range at all, even for the lighter dumbbells. Maybe she's got a pair of 35s and the 12-9-6 of DT works just fine because even at that loading, where most seasoned CrossFitters would probably have to bump it up a bit because it wouldn't quite replicate what you wanted from DT, that is like a heavy day, like a heavy, punchy lift at a high heart rate for her, and so, or for him. So it just depends. So there is general concepts that we're getting across here, but there is going to have to be some experimentation for 2 different people, 2 different ability levels, the 2 different sets of gear, and all that stuff.
Yep. Let's talk about the I go, you go.
Okay.
Because I think that's a really fun approach.
Yeah. So when I had the I go, you go, if I'm sticking with the DT example and one person has the barbell loaded and they know the reps that they're going to do, and the other person has the dumbbells loaded, they know the reps that they're going to do, each person's still going to do 5 rounds, but now DT, instead of being 5 rounds for time, it's almost more of an interval style, which you're not going to be shortchanged with. So partner A, who's working the barbell, they're going to just blitz, of course, with beautiful form. That should go without saying. They're going to blitz, 12 deads, 9 hang power cleans, and 6 push jerks as quick as they can. That barbell hits the ground. As soon as it hits the ground, the other partner does their dumbbell deads, dumbbell hang power cleans, and dumbbell push jerks. When they finish that final push jerk, they set them on the ground. They bend over and recover while the other person blitzes interval number 2 until each person have done 5. So, I mean, you can take darn near any workout and just chop it up into a you go, I go, and intervals will always deliver the goods.
Yeah, for sure. The only caveat I would add to that, I'm a huge fan of the I go, you go. I love getting together with a buddy and just taking a workout that we had on the books for that day and just chopping it up that way. I think it's always a good time. But you got to be careful if you're doing that day after day after day. Then all of a sudden what you've done is every workout is really just a short interval workout, which it's not the end of the world, but it's not going to give you the variation that you probably would want to
100%.
Really get your bases covered. So that's the only thing to look out for there. But I love that as a basic format.
Yeah, and in an ideal world, you'd take all these different options that we have and you'd sprinkle them all in. You know, you wouldn't just go to one. So that's the you go, I go.
And also say too that some workouts are going to lend themselves well. Like they really jump out at you as like, oh, this is a clear I go, you go type of workout. There's also going to be some workouts that jump out to you, and I think this is probably where we're going, right? The chipper style shared work. There's some workouts that jump out and you're like, well, this is a perfect candidate where maybe we double the reps and we, as a collective, you know, the two of us try to get to that rep and then off we go on to the next movement. So yeah, you're going to find that certain workouts are really going to speak to you in terms of like, hey, how should this be approached?
You know, and I would even say, like, let's say you had a real hankering for a you go, I go, but the workout just didn't seem to lend itself to that. And maybe this is heresy. You know what? Chop it up, chop it up a bit. And here's what I mean by this. This isn't a well-formulated thing that I like planned out before the show here, but it's like off the cuff. So let's say it is Fran, and you're like, I want to do you go, I go today. And you're like, it's Fran. If I do 21, like I can blitz Fran unbroken. I don't want to do 21 and then you do 21. Like I really want to do it. And you're like, well, happy wife, happy life. So I'm going to just say, fine, we're going to do this. And okay, well, what if you were competent at Fran? What if instead of, you're getting 45 reps total, what if you made it 22? You're like, you're going to do 22 thrusters, 22 pull-ups. She'll do 22, 22. Then you come back for a second set of 22, 22. That's going to really suck, by the way. Or if you're a total beast, get those 45 reps in. His set number one is 25 thrusters and 25 pull-ups. She does that, and then you come back for 20 and 20.
I like that.
That's miserable. And so there's, is that precisely, Fran? No. Are you probably going to feel shortchanged at the end? I doubt it. So there's some ways that you can give yourself that creative freedom that you can have some fun with this, quite frankly.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. But that chipper style, I think, is great. If you take a workout, exactly like you said, maybe there's a workout like Nancy, where we've got 5 rounds of overhead squats and 400-meter run. And you say, okay, well, the 15 overhead squats is not really that significant of a number. But to your point, we multiply that times 5 for the whole workout. Now we've got 75 reps. So maybe that workout looks like, all right, we are going to accumulate 75 reps of overhead squats between the two of us, trading off as needed. And once we've accumulated that, one person using dumbbells, one person using the barbell, then we're going to run a 2K, which is the 400-meter runs times 5 totaled. So that workout could become a 75 accumulated overhead squats trading back and forth. As soon as that's done, the two of you take off together and you get your 2K in. And there's a great way to kind of mash that into a chipper style workout that you both get to play.
Yep, 100%. Or even in a workout that maybe seems weird, going back to the Fran thing, you're going to do Fran chipper style. I want to get in 45 thrusters and 45 pull-ups. You want to get in 45 and 45. Okay, so we look at each other. We say, we're going to do 90 thrusters, 45, and then 90 pull-ups. And so I bite off a big set of 20 thrusters and then drop the barbell and you rip off 20 of that. And by the time you're done, like, oh, that was really fast. I grab it again and try to rip out another one. And then we play that same game with the pull-ups. And again, it turns it into this interval thing. But man, you can just chop these things up in so many different ways from long to short. And the Nancy one's a great one. So almost anything can be done chipper style as well. And then the other style is also just that synchronized deal. Let's just say that partner A, found a weight on the barbell that worked for them. Let's say we're going back to the DT, the 12.96 worked for them. partner B had a dumbbell load, since they're adjustable dumbbells, that 1296 works for them fine. And now they're just gonna say, we're gonna just stare at each other, and 3, 2, 1, go. We gotta be at the top of the deadlift every time together, at the top of the hang power clean, and at the top of the push jerk, or whatever it happens to be, and we're gonna do this in synchronization. Just another cool way to spend some time with your spouse.
Yeah, for sure. And then there's all sorts of hybrids that can come out of that too. So if we take this idea of, working together in some ways and then doing the I go, you go in others, you can come up with some interesting combinations. So, for example, take a workout like Helen, where you've got kettlebell swings, pull-ups, and running. Maybe you'd slice that up where you agree, okay, the running we're gonna do together, but every time we come back for the run, it's gonna be I go, you go on the other 2 elements. So if Pat and I were doing this together, 3, 2, 1, go, we start the run. When we're both back from the run, I'm gonna finish my my kettlebell swings and my pull-ups. I drop off the bar, Pat finishes his kettlebell swings and pull-ups while then I'm resting, and then we take off on the run. And so what that creates for me is I'm always gonna have this run right into these other 2 elements, and then I get a rest before my next run. Pat is gonna be kind of the opposite, where he's gonna get to go through these 2 exercises right into the run, but then he gets a break after the run is completed. So kind of fun way to look at things like that too, where you have these separate elements, but then an element that you do together round after round.
I mean, 100%. And it is actually quite fun to do this stuff. And then for the other one we said, which is the flip-flop between coach and athlete, so that would just be if the workout met the 30-minute time window and I can do what I need to do in 15 and you can, I'm going to just be motivating and thoughtfully critiquing for your portion, and then once you're done, vice versa.
Yeah, and I'd say too that, like I said, it's a real benefit to try to articulate things to another person, not only for their benefit, but you'd be surprised at how much that carries over into your own movement when you start thinking about it. You kind of ingrain things a little bit differently that way when you have to teach it. So that's a big benefit. But if you're not confident in coaching, or maybe you're still just kind of starting off with that end of it, it doesn't need to be overly complex. It could be as simple as, okay, Pat, we're going to work out together. Hey, I'm just going to ask you ahead of time, what is like the 1 or 2 things that you feel you need to be working on while we're doing this overhead squat workout, for example? And your answer might be, hey, I'm really trying to keep my elbows locked out and my chest up. Great, that's all I'm going to focus on as a coach, is looking for these really kind of narrowly defined elements. And that's how I'm going to help my partner out. Even if I don't have a ton of coaching experience, I can just lock in on those things and he'll get some benefit out of that. And then same thing, when he's done, I can play that same game back and say, okay, well, I'm working on keeping my heels down and my depth, or whatever it happens to be. Now he's got the job identified and it's pretty easy to execute.
And then in any point in time when there's nothing to say coaching wise, and you're taking a break between the hang power cleans, I can just clap and cheer and say, you got this, man. Keep going, totally. Pick them up.
My absolute favorite, yes.
It's funny. So this show will be a few weeks after that one, but so a few weeks ago we posted a show where I can't remember the name of it, like tired, all sore, beat up all over. Like, this person was also new, beat up, but also didn't like to be cheered on in this one particular thing. And that show just posted yesterday or the day before as we record this. And thus far, anecdotal, most people are actually like, I'm so glad you guys said this. I can't stand to get that either. So kind of funny. But anyway, the other thing that I think we should just mention is, I know you've only got 30 minutes to work out with your wife there, but heavy days. So if you're gonna have a heavy day, you got everything you need. You got a squat rack, a barbell, and a set of adjustable dumbbells, your spouse, and a great attitude. What more could you ask for? And so let's say that it's a below parallel 7x1 front squat day. Well, if you've got your that might be rushed in 30 minutes, but point being, you're going to just get as heavy of a load as you can work up to for as many heavy sets as you can with that barbell. It's kind of straightforward. You're going to go heavy below parallel, front, back, overhead, whatever it happens to be. But then don't feel like if that other partner, maybe for every heavy day, you can swap back out and forth the plates if you want, but if you want to do 2 separate ones, you could still do this, and you could flip-flop those days. Like, this heavy day I got the dumbbells, you get the barbell, and vice versa next time. Don't think because your dumbbells top out at 50 or 60 pounds or whatever, if they go more than that, awesome. But you can get a lot done with that, and if you open your mind to trying to create a heavy day with dumbbells for below parallel based upon that gear, I think you'll choose different movement selections that you probably haven't been doing. It's going to hit just different because you probably, again, you haven't been doing these things, from dumbbell front rack walking lunges to Bulgarian split squats to dumbbell squats to glute bridges weighted if you want, to box step ups where maybe since it's just one, you have these lighter dumbbells, you can use a pair of dumbbells and make them real heavy, or you can do sets of like 8 to 12 on this one repeated leg and smoke that leg, then do the other one and rest. You can do these things called like kickstand squats, which are kind of like pistols, but you use your back foot for support, but it's kind of like a one-legged weighted squat. Like, there's a lot of really, really cool stuff you could do with dumbbells, whether it's below parallel, pulling from the ground, going overhead, that will force you to be creative. And I think your fitness will only benefit from it. So I would keep your mind open on the heavy days as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll go back to something you said earlier. And I'm a really big advocate of swapping the weights out after every set, trading sets, not being afraid to change out the weights, because number one, it's not that hard to do. Don't be lazy. And number two, I think it really actually keeps you honest when you are having a heavy day. I think, there's plenty of people that they tend to rush through and they don't really bring their A game to each effort. And, they get through it in 7 minutes, but those sets were not really appropriately heavy because they didn't rest long enough and they didn't really apply the necessary effort to each set. And so when you have a partner that is of a different ability level and you do have to change the weights out, there's kind of a forced rest period in there that keeps you honest. And hopefully that allows you to bring your best effort to each set. And, even if you're thinking about the time constraint, you got 30 minutes, man, if you were to warm up for 15 minutes and then agree that we're going to start every 3 minutes, that's 5 quality sets that you get within that later 15-minute period of the total 30-minute workout. And that's plenty of time to swap weights without rushing. That's plenty of time for everybody to get nice and rested for their heavy sets. And everybody wins. So I'm a big fan of not getting too fancy with it. Change the weights out, don't be lazy, and reap the benefit.
Awesome. No, I think, I'm trying to think if I got anything else I wanted to hit today. I think I might have covered all the stuff I had on my mind. How about yourself?
No, I think, as usual, Pat, our lists were pretty consistent with one another. And I think the creative license is what it's all about, especially when you've got these kind of constraints. I personally think it's one of the best ways to learn because it forces you to think and to adapt on the fly. That's always a good thing, in my opinion. And secondarily, it just releases you to kind of have a good time with it. You don't get locked into like, well, the paper says I have to do it this way. Man, the sooner you can jettison that attitude and figure out that like there's no magic in the numbers, there's no magic with the prescribed weight, the effort and the consistency are largely what matters. That is such a good lesson to learn. And having some forced constraints that kind of guide you down that path, it can end really, really positively if you are willing to let it.
100%. And so like I said, I don't know if you have it and just didn't mention it, but if you can, I'd grab a pull-up bar if you don't have one. And if you don't, you get that for the time being, you can do rows, bent over rows with dumbbells and barbells and things like that. And you won't be shortchanged and for the time being. Okay. That's it. We appreciate
we got there.
Yeah, we appreciate the question, everybody. What are your thoughts on this topic? Creating partner workouts, working out with your spouse, dumbbells versus barbell conversions, all that good stuff. Find this episode on the btwb YouTube channel. Post your thoughts and comments under there. We read those things. If you have an idea for a future show topic or question, you can post it there. We'll check that out. Or you can go on Instagram, go to the Varied Not Random Instagram page. You can post a public comment. We'll see that. Or you can send a direct message on Varied Not Random in case you want to be a bit more anonymous. They all make their way to us. So no matter where you are, we appreciate you. For Adrian Bosman, I'm Pat Sherwood, and we'll see you next time.